Welcome back to Horns High Studios for another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder. That means each one of these videos is 666 seconds or less, or 11 minutes and 6 seconds. So let's get started. Going back to the Idaho 4, talking about what I think is somewhat of a strange coincidence that I've looked at before but wanted to explore further. But remember, these videos are for informational purposes only. These are just my opinions and speculation. I'm not saying anybody's guilty of anything. I'm just talking about a case that interests me and interests you. So I recently saw a video on A.R. Hayes' channel, A Convict's Thoughts, that made me think about something that I've previously brought up. One thing I've noticed with this case is that sometimes when you look at aspects of it again after a period of time, it seems to reveal something new that I hadn't seen before. And I wonder what the motivations were to make somebody do these crimes. And I'm going to talk about something that I think makes a lot of sense to me, and from reading the comments, a lot of you as well. And I'm going to link below to the video I'm referring to that I watched on AR's channel, because his perspective comes from experience and is very interesting. Now, I know we've heard that the 1122 King Road house was considered a drug house. And of course, that's alleged. But when you really think about it, there seems to be a strange coincidence between some of these roommates. Several of them had family members with significant drug offenses, prison time, and other things that are outside the law. Doesn't that seem a bit odd? Out of 6 roommates in a house, that 3 or 4 of them had this going on with family members or very close associates? Now, Maddie's father, Ben Mogan, had done prison time for drug offenses and could have possibly received a deal from law enforcement. As A.R. Hayes points out, they don't do that sort of thing out of the goodness of their heart. They're going to do it in exchange for information to bring down the bigger fish in the crime network. And he allegedly took a plea deal only to serve 90 days for a felony drug offense that was reduced to a misdemeanor. Now, if that's true in this case, that could possibly have led to something that happened here. I mean, you don't think people would want to do something extreme if he did that and provided information that locked them up? Now, we do know that there was a major drug bust that involved Idaho, Washington, and Arizona that took down 27 major drug players, the biggest in state history. When people like that get picked up because of an informant, it usually is not going to end well. Could that have happened here? I mean, the question revolving around Maddie's father is one possibility, but how about her stepmother as well? She's also had done time and got picked up on a major drug offense, allegedly involving distribution. Did she cut a deal to get less time? Could that have contributed to the desire for someone to want to exact revenge? Now, we know that Xana's mother, Kara, has had her issues with drugs as well. She's got an extensive criminal record, and like Maddie's stepmom, she got busted for similar offenses only a couple of months prior to the crimes in Moscow. Now, did she cut a deal to get less time, being a confidential informant? I mean, she's currently in protective custody until the DOC figures out where to put her, but a lot of suspicion there with her. We also know that Kaylee's uncle was involved in a permanent, violent, drug-related event that put him away in prison for a while. Now, I've heard rumors about other involvement in drugs when it comes to Steve G., but I don't believe any of that. I've never seen anything legit, but I've heard a lot of rumor. But the fact that his brother was involved in a crime that ended someone's life over drugs is worth a mention here. Yet another family member of one of these roommates that could have run into issues with breaking the law and prison. Does anyone else see this as being a little odd? I mean, I realize that in every family, there are people that have run into issues like this. But out of 6 roommates, the fact that 3 of them had this going on is a very coincidental problem that seems very strange to me. Now, I'm not aware of any issues like that in Dylan's family, but we do know that her boyfriend, Quinn Kelly, was allegedly in the business of dealing drugs himself. And his father, Jeremy, has done time in prison for repeated domestic abuse issues. He just got out of prison. So while that's not her family, it's yet another tie that these roommates have to people that are constantly running into issues with the law. Many of these are very bad individuals that you don't want to play with. I've heard rumors that Bethany's brother Cody was maybe involved in something, but then I also saw a Cody Funk that's a coroner in Idaho County, and there's another person by that name that owns Funk Farms in Grangeville, Ohio. Now, I'm not sure if these are the same person or not, and I have no idea whether or not he's related to Bethany, but I have heard that name brought up in some different things that I've read about the case. But I do know she's from Reno, so I'm not sure if that person is related to her or not. Now, the 6th roommate was Ashlyn Couch, as we've been told, and she rented the other basement bedroom, but wasn't living there at the time. And I've heard A.R. Hayes mention that it's common with drug dealers to rent a room in the house that acts as like a stash for product there. And since a lot of these houses have separate leases for the roommates, that somewhat insulates the others if there's a bust. And I know that Ashlyn was at the house the night before for a party on Friday. But, and I did see that her brother Scott is a registered sex offender. So I'm not sure what the story is with him, but there's another family with a criminal past. I mean, each one of these on their own may not seem like a whole lot, but when 5 of the 6 roommates either had family or close relations that had problems with the law, that makes me wonder. I mean, most of these being drug related. In the case of coincidences, this case is just full of them. I mean, just unbelievable. Now, I'm sure that I'll catch some flack from viewers that think I'm victim shaming here, but I don't mean to do that. But the facts are the facts. And these are criminal records in various members of their families, and with that's going to come some risk. I mean, when you're dealing with that sort of element, it's possible there are confidential informants in this case. How many, we just have no idea. But you know the saying, snitches get stitches. And that could certainly have played a role here. In addition to the roommates, we've heard that Emma and Demetrius were frequent visitors to the house as well. These 2 have allegedly been involved in the drug trade and were probably the suppliers for the area. Emma is seen in a police body cam video allegedly removing something from her backside and throwing it in the garbage can. These 2 were involved in an overdose death in Washington and somehow escaped major charges due to a legal loophole. I mean, did they cut a deal and act as confidential informants? If so, there's another possible reason why this might have happened. How many coincidences have to happen in this case before we start seriously investigating this stuff? Did law enforcement have blinders on and not look seriously at any other suspects? I mean, none of the things that I've mentioned involve Brian Kohberger. Now, some have speculated that he may have been using drugs again, but I doubt that. We aren't even sure he ever did that, since that information was provided by one of his friends from high school. The bottom line is that you surround yourself with bad people, you're subjecting yourself for bad things to happen. If you provide information to law enforcement to lock someone up, they're going to reach out at some point. And in my opinion, this could have been the result of any one of the things I mentioned. But I believe it's likely a combination of these things that created the spark that ignited this powder keg. The gag order is likely in place to protect the confidential informants in this case, and they could possibly even be linked to other operations by law enforcement. I want to say big thanks to A.R. Hayes for inspiring me to do this video with his great content. So if you're not already subscribed, go check him out at A Convict's Thoughts and scroll down below to get the link to that video that I referenced. But let me know what you guys think about this one. I want to say thank you to the members of the Horns High Club. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate your support, and I appreciate all of you that watch these videos. And we'll see you next time on 666 Seconds of Murder.